Today we are going to be doing an oil change on a 1985 Honda Rebel motorcycle. For today's oil change on the 1985 Honda Rebel 250, we'll be using the following equipment. We have a 2.7 quart plastic catch container for the used oil from the motorcycle. We have 2 quarts of 10W40 oil, of which we'll only need about 1.6 quarts when we refill the bike. There's a paper bag here to put underneath the oil drain pan to catch any drips, some paper towel for any additional cleanup, and normally, because the 1985 Rebel 250 uses a 17mm drain plug, we would normally use a ratchet and a 17mm socket head. Unfortunately, there's not enough clearance underneath the bike in order to get that particular tool under there. So today we're going to be using my purple adjustable wrench. Before we do the oil change on the Rebel, we'll go ahead and let it run for a few minutes in order to let the oil inside get nice and warm. That way, after we shut the bike off and let it cool for a couple of minutes, the warm oil inside of the bike will drain out nice and quickly. The bike's been running for a few minutes. It's nice and warm. We'll go ahead and shut the bike off now so that we can let the bike cool, and then the warm oil will drain out quickly for us. Now that the bike has sufficiently cooled, I've gone ahead and placed our paper bag underneath the bike, just below the oil drain pan, so that once I begin to remove the oil drain plug, if anything should drip, it will fall on there. I've also placed our plastic catch container for the used oil next to the bike conveniently, so that way, once I begin to remove the oil drain plug, I can slide it underneath there before it gushes out. To locate the oil drain plug on the 1985 Honda Rebel, start by looking on the kickstand side of the bike, and you want to get underneath between the exhaust pipes. There is your oil drain bolt or plug. In this case, with the 1985 Honda Rebel, it is a 17mm bolt. Now that we've located the drain plug, I'm going to use this adjustable wrench just to loosen the bolt. Once the bolt has loosened, I'll loosen the remainder of the threads by hand. Now that I've loosened the oil drain plug, I've set my adjustable wrench aside, and I will now look for my plastic catch pan. I will slide this under the bike as we prepare to loosen the oil drain plug the rest of the way. Now that my plastic oil catch pan is underneath the oil drain pan, before I begin loosening the oil drain plug the rest of the way, I'm going to go to the other side of the bike and I'm going to open the oil cap. I'll take this cap and oil dipstick and set it in a clean place. so that nothing sticks to it. We don't want anything ending up inside with the oil. Now that I've found a clean, safe spot for our oil dipstick, it's time to loosen the oil drain plug. As you do this, be careful. The oil that comes out of the oil drain plug and pan may be hot. You can now see that our oil has slowed down to almost a trickle. We'll continue to let it drain for about half an hour to make sure that it's fully drained. You can see that I've placed our oil drain plug safely next to our oil dipstick in a clean place while we're waiting for the oil to drain completely. Now that the oil has almost drained completely out, you can see that it's barely dripping. We're going to go ahead and stand the bike upright so that it's straight up and down, so that any additional oil that may be in any nooks and crannies in the bike will get drained out. To ensure that we've removed all of the oil from the bike, we're going to go ahead and, with the bike in the engine stop off position, we're going to go ahead and turn the key on, and we're going to go ahead and push the start button a couple of times in order to drain any additional oil out of the bike. Obviously, in doing that process, we do that with the red thumb switch in the off position in order to ensure that the bike does not start with no oil in it. Now that oil has stopped dripping out of the bike, it's time to reinstall our oil drain plug. Now that our oil drain plug is finger tight, I'll go ahead and remove our oil catch pan and secure the lid to it. And as soon as we're finished, we'll make sure that we get this to the proper oil recycling center. To tighten our oil drain plug, which is once again a 17mm bolt, I'm going to go ahead and use this adjustable wrench again because my socket wrench does not fit with the limited space underneath this bike. I have heard and read online that some people have had issues with the over tightening of the oil drain plug. I've never had any issues with it. Obviously you want it snug, not too tight. We don't want to crack the oil drain pan. If you have any questions, certainly consult your 1985 Honda Rebel 250 manual to check the correct amount of tension or torque you need to apply to the bolt. After I finished tightening the oil drain plug, I like to go ahead and just take a paper towel and wipe down everything really well underneath the bike, including the plug. That way I know in the future if I do find oil dripping on the floor or the ground in the garage or outside in the driveway, I can tell that there may be a leak as opposed to just some splatter from the oil change process. Now that we have successfully removed the drain plug, drained the used motorcycle oil, removed the oil catch pan from underneath the motorcycle, and snugly reinstalled the oil drain plug, we're going to go ahead and put in our 10W40 oil. Now to put in our oil, we're going to go around to the other side of the bike and get ready to put the oil into where we removed the oil dipstick from. Most people normally would use a funnel in order to refill their oil into the motorcycle. However, I don't have one available for this project, but if we're careful, we shouldn't spill any. If we do, just in case, we'll slide our paper bag over here to catch anything that may drip. Since I know that the motorcycle takes about 1.6 quarts, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just dump one of these entire quarts in to begin with. After I have one of these in, with the second quart, I'll start by adding about 1/2 of the quart, or 0.5 quarts, and then slowly adding little by little until it measures at the appropriate height on the dipstick. I've already added 1 whole quart, and at this time you can see that I've added approximately 1/2 of an additional quart. We're going to go ahead now and check the oil level to see where we're at. In order to accurately measure the oil level on the Rebel, it's important to make sure that when you insert the dipstick into the oil reservoir that you place it like so, resting on top of the threads and not screwed in. It's also important to make sure that the bike is level. This can be kind of tricky doing it with just one person, so you may need a second person in order to make sure that the bike is upright and on a level surface. You can see that the oil level is still low after adding 1.5 quarts because it has yet to appear at the bottom of the dipstick. I've now added just a little bit more oil, and we'll go ahead and check our level now to see if we are at where we need to be. You can see now that after adding approximately 1.6, 1.7 quarts of oil, our oil level is now just about at the top of the notched section at the bottom of the dipstick, right where it needs to be. Now we'll go ahead and we will reinsert our dipstick into the bike. Making sure that it is snug and that no other particles have gotten into the reservoir. And we'll go ahead and put the cap on our leftover oil. Now that we've completed the oil change on our 1985 Honda Rebel 250, we are ready to ride. Hope this has been informative and helpful. Thanks for watching.